Dana had made a comment that he's got news on Conor McGregor. He's got news on Michael Chandler. It's going to be coming out soon. What could it be? I mean, they're going to fight. We've got a date. We've got a venue. Everything's in place, right? Is there anything reasonable where you believe it could be something short of that? Do you believe? Is there ever a time that somebody announces that they have an announcement and then it's bad news? I mean, have you ever seen that? Has anyone ever, let me give you an example. You go in for a job interview. They tell you, thank you, we'll be making our decision within the week. Okay, if you get a phone call and they say, hey, you need to call us back. Hey, you need to come back down here. You don't need to call them back or go down there nervous about whether or not you got the job. They do not sit down with somebody who they did not give the job to. They do not bring you in. You're not even getting that call. If you get that news, it will never be about you directly. It'll be in a different situation that then connects to you, such as we have filled the position, that you will never be told it's not you. So we now understand that when Dana says I have Conor news, I have Chandler news, there's not a scenario where we have to guess, well, we're going in a different direction. Hey guys, we just made a decision. Now it's time to tell you. I want to hold a press conference to let you know we're not going to do the match. Hey guys, I want to make an announcement and just let you know that we're still looking to do the match, and we don't have a venue or date yet, but we're still working. Right? Like, there is nothing else it could possibly be than they're going to fight. Now, why wouldn't I break it? Why would I not break that information? Why wouldn't Ariel break it? Because I don't have it, and neither does Ariel. How's that work? And I do think that part of the business is very interesting. And I think that you guys would find that very interesting. For example, I don't believe, and you don't tell any more people than you have to tell. It's very important because you do want your release. You do want the drop. You do want people to have the ability to do what I'm doing right now, which is to speculate and talk about it for you before the announcement comes. You want all of those things. And the more times you pick up the phone and then tell the person, all right, don't say anything. One great way to do it is you don't tell anybody more than you have to tell. And I offer that for you because I don't think Michael Chandler knows. I don't think if I was to call Michael Chandler for you guys right now and ask him. And by the way, Michael Chandler would not lie. Now, he might not give you the information, but it wouldn't be a lie. He would tell you, Chael, I cannot tell you that information. I do have it, and it is coming. But I can't tell. That's how Chandler would speak, just so you understand. But I'm not sure that they have called and told Chandler because they wouldn't need to. He's in. He has made it clear that he's in. He's in shape. He's healthy. He's ready to cut right. I mean, it checks all of these boxes. I'm not sure that you would need to tell him. By the way, I'm not certain how much you would have to give Conor in this particular situation. Conor is being very open and being very talkative that I want it in December. So let's just say it is in December. I think you'd be able to keep that information because both of the guys are going to hear you say you've got the information. They don't know it either. And I find that part, I find that to be so important. And I remember where I was, just to personalize for you. The first time Dana White ever called me. And Dana White talked about me, but he would call me Chael Sonnen. He didn't even know my name. And he called me one day, and I don't have his phone number saved. He's never called me. And I answer the phone. I'm headed to practice. And he says, Chael, it's Dana. And he says, you want to fight Anderson Silva? And he told me a date. You want to fight Anderson Silva in a month? And I said, yeah. And he said, all right, good. Because I just went on SportsCenter and announced it. So it had already been announced before I ever found out. I love that. I think that is so fun. I love that the UFC used to do business that way, and I love that they used to be able to do business that way. They've stopped. They had somebody call them out on it. And the person called them out on the media and said, they've announced this fight, and I don't even have a contract. They went and told the world about this fight. They even did a poster, and that's how I found out about it. I don't even have a contract, and that bothered the UFC about themselves. They looked at that and go, you know what? That's not organization. So in the future, we are not going to do that until we have it signed. And I wish that wasn't the case. I liked it more the other way. I thought it was very fun. And there are certain guys where that can still be the case. I'll give you a great example. UFC 300. The winner of Sakarian versus Charles is going to get drawn into Islam. Now, Sakarian is either going to take the fight if he wins, or Charles is going to take the fight if he wins and then at a later date pull out of it. But that night, that was what was going to happen, and it didn't. Sakarian got the jump on him. Said, I need a little bit more time. I'm not coming to Atlantic City in 6 weeks. So a message goes out to Poirier. Poirier accepts, and they were able to announce it in that fashion. But think of the history that they've had with Poirier. Think of the fact that they knew that they could trust him. Think of the fact that they knew his word and our word come together. It's a done deal. I don't have to go and get this paperwork in line. I don't have to get these things lined up. Let me tell you a story. The UFC, right? One thing about professional wrestling and the history of professional wrestling is, contrary to what you might know, it used to be a competition. And they were genuinely trying to pin each other or trying to tap each other out. They would call it to stretch them. And stretch just means tap a guy out. You're stretching him. Whoa. Got to tap out. The scene wasn't very big. So it's the same guys going from town to town, and they're gonna do this fight, and then they're gonna fight again in a different town. Then they're gonna come in, and this guy's gonna fight him, and he's gonna switch over to a program with this guy, and they're gonna do that for and they're just and finally they're riding the car together, and one of them just says, "Hey, instead of going and fighting tomorrow night, why don't we just pretend we're fighting? I'm not mad at you, and you're not mad at me. That's an act. Our families don't know. It's not on television. Like, our egos aren't on the line here. We don't even know these people. All they're expecting from us is entertainment. We can give them that. And by the way, we don't have to drive up the interstate tomorrow where you got stitches in your forehead and I got ice on mine." That is how that came about. But the concept of building and promoting, though it's never been done, does seem like a winning formula. So you put all that in reverse, and you have a real sport where they're really fighting and they are really trying to finish, to stretch, to TKO, to defeat the other one, okay? Then you add the storylines in. And you can manufacture some of the angles. That seems like an absolute winning recipe. And don't forget, when this sport was getting going, as well as it was doing it, as much as guys like you and I liked it, we were not even touching what a professional wrestling audience would do. We were not touching the size of attendance, touching the venues, touching the merchandising, which, by the way, we still don't. We were not touching the television and the distribution and the pay-per-views. Seemed like a great time to combine it. And we had a pro wrestling guy come in. And I can't remember. It was either Jim Ross or it was Paul Heyman. I can't remember. And they were actually in the room where the fighter would sit down. There would be a camera, and the fighter would just get asked questions. That's it. And you were told, when you answer the question, repeat the question back so the audience has it. Hey, how do you plan to win tomorrow night? Tomorrow night, I plan to win by, right, this is the game. Then it gets cut up and clipped, and it gets put out, and this story gets put out, and there's some footage, and you see it when the world sees it, and you see the direction that it's going. Like, there's a level of storytelling that happens even before some of the words and phrases get manufactured. And the very first and the only time that this happened, BJ Penn did not like how it came off, which, by the way, worked perfectly. I can't remember who BJ was fighting, but it made BJ the heel, and BJ was such a good heel. BJ would laugh at people and mimic people. BJ was such a good heel, but he didn't like this one. And he didn't like it because he didn't think it was real. Somebody else had told him to say that. So when the internet came and turned on him and thought he was a jerk, he couldn't live with it. And he had to come out and he had to tell everybody, I didn't do that. There was a guy in there. He told me, say this. I didn't even know why. And they instantly, it's never been discussed. You won't find an interview on that. I tell you, I don't know if it was Ross or if it was Heyman. You won't find out. That got buried and that got sealed and that got locked up like it never happened, all because the fighters couldn't take it. They didn't understand what was happening, how it was for the greater good. They just couldn't take it. And it's the same reason that we lost that. We lost creative control. It's the same reason we lose the ability to make announcements without having everything in order. Because a fighter somewhere along the way took the gun and pointed it at his own industry.